Hello students, I am V. Ellen Swarupini, lecturer in biochemistry from Sri Venkateswara College of Arts and Sciences, which is affiliated to Adikavi Nannaya University, Rajahmundry. Now let's discuss about 3rd BSc 5th semester 5A paper titled Physiology, Clinical Biochemistry and Immunology. From this topic we have 5 units. And the first unit is physiology. From this unit, let's discuss about composition or components of blood. Okay, now let's start the topic, that is composition of blood. We all know that is a connective tissue and it transports oxygen and nutrients to the different cells. That is a connective tissue which transports oxygen and nutrients to the cells. Okay, that means this is a connective tissue. Everybody will think blood is in a liquid form, so it is not a tissue, but this is a connective tissue. Why we call it as tissue, or why we consider it as a tissue means blood consists of both tissue and a fluid. It is a tissue because it is a collection of similar specialized cells that serve particular functions. Okay, that means this blood consists of both tissue components and also fluid content. And the tissues are nothing but different kinds of specialized cells like basophils, neutrophils. These are all different kinds of cells present in blood, and these all kinds of cells are suspended in a liquid matrix. Okay, these cells are suspended in a liquid matrix, and the liquid matrix is called as plasma. What we call that liquid plasmate, a liquid matrix, it is called as plasma. And because of the presence of plasma only, blood is in the form of a fluid. Okay. And if we go for centrifugation process, we all know centrifugation, which is meant for the separation of solid material from the liquid material. Both can be easily separated by using centrifuge, in which centrifugal field will be acting and gravitational force will also be acting. By centrifugation process, we can separate the components of blood, that means solid material and the liquid plasma can be easily separated. So firstly we should see composition of blood. Firstly let's see the components of blood. Okay, blood, here cellular components will be present and also liquid plasma will be present. Coming to cellular components, we have majorly three types of cells, RBC, WBC and platelets. RBC, WBC and platelets. We can also call RBC as erythrocytes and WBC as leukocytes, platelets as thrombocytes. RBC means red blood cells, WBC means white blood cells. That means we can call red blood cells as erythrocytes and white blood cells as leukocytes, and platelets can be called as thrombocytes. And again these white blood are two types, granulocytes and agranulocytes. Granulocytes means in those particular cells small granular components will be present, that's why these are called as granulocytes. And agranulocytes doesn't contain any granules in their cell surface, that's why we call them as agranulocytes. And granulocytes are again three kinds of granulocytes are present. Those are neutrophils, eosinophils and basophils. Whereas agranulocytes are monocytes and lymphocytes. Okay, these all are the cellular components or cell components that we can see in blood. Coming to plasma, it is a liquid or fluid material that is present in the blood, and in plasma we can find water content, proteins, electrolytes, nutrients and waste products. Okay, waste products are nothing but the any cell component which is after certain period of lifespan, those cells will be dead. So those can be considered as waste products. Okay, and we all know plasma proteins are highly beneficial for the body, and these based on these plasma proteins we can identify many diseases and all. Okay, and these are the components of blood. Okay, now let's see in detail about this all component. Firstly, let's see about blood plasma. Okay, and this blood plasma is a straw colored sticky fluid. It is a straw colored sticky fluid. It is a matrix of blood and makes up 55% of blood's volume. That means in the complete blood, around 55% of its volume is plasma. That means 45% we can see the cellular components and 55 is this fluid plasma. Okay, and this plasma also carries serum and clotting factors along with it. That means apart from the components what we listed out here, water, proteins, electrolytes, nutrients, waste products, it also contains serum and blood clotting factors. Okay, why we need blood clotting factors? In case of any wound formation or any cuts, if any person get a wound or a cut, it is necessary to get blood clot, or else there will be lot of blood loss in that particular person. That's why clotting factors are very essential for every human being. Okay, these play major role when a person gets wound or cut, so that blood loss can be prevented by this clotting of blood at the wound. Okay, and about serum we'll see next after the discussion of this topic. Okay, and if it is a fluid portion of blood and it contains the following material. Okay, that means fluid portion of blood consists of the following material. If you observe water, that means this is all the composition in the plasma, that means not in the blood. In the plasma is 55% in all the blood. In that 55%, 95% of water is present, and proteins like albumin, fibrinogen, immunoglobulins are also present, and nutrients like glucose, fatty acids, amino acids are also present, and electrolytes such as sodium, calcium, magnesium, bicarbonate are also present. These are, and that means these are the few examples for proteins, nutrients and electrolytes. Coming to waste products, we also see lactic acid, carbon dioxide, urea as waste products in the plasma. Okay, see now what is serum? As blood plasma also carries serum, we should know about serum. Okay, it is a fluid separated after coagulation of blood. That means as blood plasma contain both serum and clotting factors. Clotting factors are responsible for the coagulation of blood. After coagulation of blood, whatever the fluid we observe, that is called as serum. Okay, don't get confused between plasma and the serum. Plasma is the fluid material present in the blood apart from the cellular components, whereas serum is the fluid component which is seen after the coagulation of the blood. Okay, to observe plasma we should centrifuge the blood. to observe serum, we should coagulate the blood. That means after centrifugation process we can see plasma, and after coagulation of blood we can see serum. Okay, that is the major difference between plasma and serum. So please don't get confused between these two fluids. Okay, and blood serum is in plasma minus the proteins involved in the clot formation. That means what is serum? It is the plasma minus the proteins involved in the clot formation. That means serum in serum, plasma without proteins is called as serum. Okay, after blood clot formation only we can observe this serum. Now see the major differences between plasma and serum. In plasma, fibrinogen is present, whereas in serum fibrinogen is absent. If you see, this fibrinogen is a protein component. Okay, that means as we discussed, blood serum is plasma without proteins. That means here you can see plasma alone contains fibrinogen, but serum does not contain fibrinogen, which is a blood or plasma protein. And plasma needs anticoagulants like EDTA and heparin. EDTA and heparin are the best anticoagulants. That means these are the components which prevent coagulation of blood. Okay, these are mainly why we need anticoagulation means anticoagulation components means blood should not form clots inside the body. Okay, that means in our body blood should be floated in a liquid form, and it should not get any clots in our blood circulating system. Okay, that's why these anticoagulants are required for the plasma, but this serum does not need any anticoagulants, and 55% of the total blood volume is plasma, whereas serum quantity is very less when compared to plasma. This plasma helps in regulation of transportation of materials like glucose and other nutrients through blood. That means we all know blood is responsible for transportation of different nutrients and minerals throughout our body, and glucose is also one of the major component through which this glucose is transported. Okay, and this serum is used to diagnose the cholesterol, protein and sugar levels. Okay, this is not responsible for the transportation of any kind of material. This is only responsible for the diagnosis of a few components like cholesterol, proteins and sugar levels. By estimating these components like cholesterol, sugar level and proteins, we can diagnose different kinds of diseases or disorders. Okay, see this plasma, it contains water, proteins, nutrients, electrolytes and waste products. And now let's see about plasma proteins. Here the concentration of total protein in human plasma is approximately 6.0 to 8.0 grams per Dalton. That means in plasma protein content is around, total protein content is around 6.0 to 8.0 grams per Dalton, and this is the major part of the plasma. Okay, after water, plasma proteins are the major contents present in the plasma, and important proteins are like fibrinogen. This is also called as clotting factor 1. Okay, that means fibrinogen is the one of the major clotting factor, and it is clotting factor 1. We all know clotting factors are just mentioned with their numbers. Okay, we see clotting factor 1, clotting factor 2 and clotting factor 8, 9, like this we mention them with only numbers. Okay, they only few of them have specific names, and here clotting factor 1 is named as fibrinogen, and here 4 to 6% of total protein is fibrinogen. That means in plasma 6 to 8 grams per dl plasma proteins are present. In that content, around 4 to 6% of protein content is fibrinogen. Okay, and molecular weight of fibrinogen is around 350 to 450 kilodaltons. And the next plasma protein is albumin. Coming to this albumin, it is also one of the major protein of human plasma with 3.4 to 4.7 grams per dalton. Okay, this is the normal range is 3.5 to 5 grams per dalton. That means every human being contains healthy human being contain 3.5 to 5 grams per dalton of albumin. If you see here it makes up approximately 60% of total plasma proteins. Okay, and half-life of albumin is 20 days. Half-life is nothing but the time taken to reduce to its half content is called as half-life, and it is 20 days for albumin. And plasma in osmotic equilibrium with cells of the body. That means based on the albumin content only, it keeps the plasma in osmotic equilibrium with the cells of the body. Another plasma protein is globulin. And this globulin, these are diverse group of high molecular weight proteins. 35% of total immunoglobulins are present. That means immunoglobulins are nothing but these are the globulin molecules which are responsible for the immunity in our body. Okay, so 35% of the globulin proteins are nothing but immunoglobulins. So these are the important plasma proteins. Apart from these three, there are many plasma proteins that we can see in blood plasma. Okay, now next let's move on to the cellular components. And as we already seen the components of blood, cellular components are three types: red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets. Red blood cells nothing but erythrocytes. We also call them as erythrocytes. And RBC is small and biconcave in shape. Okay, RBC is small and biconcave. That means it is a it is in the form of a two-lobed structure. Okay, and 5.4 million per milliliter of blood in adult man. That means we can see 4.5 million red blood cells per milliliter of blood in an healthy adult man, and 4.8 million red blood cells per milliliter in healthy adult woman. So these are the normal concentrations or normal volume of red blood cells in a healthy humans. Okay, and 45% of total volume of blood are red blood cells. Okay, that means 45% of, that means major component of major cellular component of blood is red blood cell. Okay, and why that's why red blood cell composition or deficiency of iron is mostly seen in large number of people. That means red blood cells consist of iron component as central metal atom. That means iron is central metal atom for the red blood cell. That means red blood cell contain a heme component, which is a colored pigment, and heme consists of iron as central metal atom. And if a person lack or doesn't contain sufficient amount of red blood cells, that person also shows iron deficiency. Okay, that's why this is how this iron deficiency is related to the decrease in the red blood cells. Okay, and this hemoglobin, this is the blood pigment. As blood is in red color, this red color is nothing but due to the presence of hemoglobin in the blood, and it is also responsible for the transportation of oxygen. And hemoglobin is 33% of erythrocytes. That means in the erythrocytes concentration there is 33% of hemoglobin. Okay. Now let's see about white blood cells. As we already know, white blood cells are also called as leukocytes, and these white blood cells are again two types, granulocytes and agranulocytes. And this WBC contains nearly 1% of the total blood volume. If you take completely the total blood volume of a person, 1% of that particular blood is white blood cells, and these are again two types, granulocytes, agranulocytes. Granulocytes are again three types. Those are neutrophils, eosinophils and basophils. Neutrophils are around 50 to 70%, eosinophils are around 2 to 4%, basophils are around 0.5 to 1%. And agranulocytes are again two types, lymphocytes and monocytes. Lymphocytes are 25 to 45% and monocytes are 3 to 8%. Now let's see these each cells in detail. First let's start with the granulocytes. And in granulocytes, neutrophils are the first cellular components. These neutrophils are the most numerous of the white blood cells. That means these are the content of this neutrophils are very high in blood. Okay, around 50 to 70% of the white blood cell population is filled with neutrophils. Okay, and neutrophils are around twice as large as erythrocytes. That means when compared to size, these are very larger when compared to red blood cells also. And this neutrophil cytoplasm stains pale lilac and contain very fine granules. That means if you see the color of the neutrophil cytoplasm, it is pale lilac in color. Okay, when we stain that particular cytoplasm of neutrophil, we can see it as pale lilac in color, and we can also observe fine granules, huge amount of fine granules. That's why this neutrophil is a granulocyte now, and these fine granules, due to their presence only, we call them as granulocytes. And they are called neutrophils because their granules take up both basic and acidic dyes. That means we can call these neutrophils as granulocytes. These type of granulocytes are called as neutrophils due to their ability to take both basic and acidic dyes. That means it accepts both basic and acidic dyes. That's why we call it as neutro, which is neutral. It is neither basic nor acidic. That's why it absorbs both basic and acidic dyes. That's why we call it as neutrophil. Okay, that means here based on the dye it is taking, we named it as neutrophil. And neutrophil nuclei consist of 3 to 6 lobes. That means nucleus of neutrophil is lobed in structure, and it may contain lobes up to 3 to 6. Okay, and neutrophil play major role in the destruction of bacteria. That means any unwanted bacteria which is present in our blood circulation can be easily destroyed by this neutrophil. And the next one is basophil. These are rarest white blood cells. Okay, these are very less in content, and 0.5 to 1% of the leukocyte population is basophil. Their cytoplasm contains obviously granules because it is a granulocyte. That means cytoplasm of basophil also contain granules, and these granules and these basophils secrete histamine. Histamine increases tissue blood flow via diluting the blood vessels, and also secrete heparin, which is an anticoagulant that promotes mobility of other white blood cells by preventing clotting. What happened here? This basophils are responsible for the anticoagulation properties, and cytoplasm of the basophils contain granules and which secrete histamine. And this, what is the purpose of this histamine is nothing but this increase the blood flow in the tissue blood flow. Okay, and how it happens is it dilutes the blood vessels. Okay, it will dilute the blood vessels and secrete heparin, and that means along with histamine, heparin secretion is also seen with this, related with this basophils. And we all know this heparin is an anticoagulant, and due to this anticoagulant presence, it promotes the mobility of other white blood cells by preventing clotting. That means without, if any clot is formed, there will be it will be like obstacle for the free flow of this blood. That's why anticoagulant heparin is helpful for the anticoagulation, and it will prevent clotting of any blood cell components, and thus it helps the perfect blood flow in a human being. And the next cellular component is eosinophils, and these are present around 2 to 4% of all leukocytes. These have large granules and a prominent nucleus that is divided into 2 lobes. Okay, here the nucleus is divided into 2 lobes, and these also have large granules in their cytoplasm. What is the importance of these eosinophils is, these eosinophils kill parasitic worms and show complex role in the destruction of allergens and inflammatory chemicals. That means here neutrophils are responsible for fighting against unwanted bacteria, whereas eosinophils are responsible for fighting against parasitic worms and also for the allergic reactions, as few humans are allergic to different components like pollen grains or dust or to few food particles. So these kind of allergens also can be maintained or can be fight from our body by these eosinophils. Okay, and also play major role in asthma. We all know asthma is also related to some allergic reactions, and this asthma can also be fight with these eosinophils. And next, agranulocytes. The cytoplasm of the agranulocytes are doesn't contain any granules, and that's why we call it as agranulocytes. From that, lymphocytes. These are usually classified as small, medium and large. These lymphocytes major function is to destroy cancer cells, cells infected with virus and foreign invading cells. That means these lymphocytes are mostly related to fight carcinogenic cells present in our body and the cells which are infected with viruses and the foreign invading cells. That means any foreign particle which enter in our body can be fought with this lymphocytes. Okay. In addition, they act on other cells of the immune system against antigens. That means if our body immune system is acting against our body cells, then this lymphocytes can be acted upon those antigens. Okay. They also coordinate the action of other immune cells, secrete antibodies and serve in immune memory. That means they coordinate the actions of other immune cells. Like in our immune system, there will be different kinds of immune cells, and our immune system also secrete antibodies against the antigens. Okay, antigens are if our body receive any antigens against that particular antigens, our body secretes some antibodies, and this lymphocyte, what it do is it coordinates the actions of immune cells and they secrete antibodies. Okay, and serve in immune memory. Immune memory is nothing but if one antigen entered our body and against that particular antigen our body will secrete antibodies. Okay, and that antibodies will fight against antigen and they destroy those antigens. And if after few days or few years our body again that particular antigen may enter our body, at that time this particular immune system will recognize that particular antigen with immune memory. Okay, based on that immune memory it again acts against that antigens. Okay. In these, that means antigen or viruses or in cancer cells destroying, this lymphocytes will be very helpful. And the next one is monocytes. These are largest of all the formed elements in the blood. Okay, and their cytoplasm tends to be abundant and relatively clear. That means their cytoplasm is absolutely clear, and their function in differentiating into macrophages, which are larger in size, and these are large phagocytic cells and digest pathogens, dead neutrophils and the debris of dead cells. That means like these are helpful in the cleaning of our blood. That means these get differentiated into macrophages, and these macrophages consist of large phagocytic cells. Okay, and these phagocytic cells, what they do is they digest the pathogens which enter our body, and also dead neutrophils are degraded in these monocytes, macrophages, and also debris of dead cells. Okay. Now let's see about platelets. These platelets are also called as thrombocytes, and which are less fragments involved in the blood clotting. Okay, these are the cell fragments which are involved in the blood clotting. And platelets are roughly disc shaped and small in size, around 2 to 4 mm in diameter. When the lining of blood vessel is damaged, that means when the lining of the blood vessel is damaged, platelets are attached to wound site and start blood clotting along with fibrin. That means These particular platelets along with other blood clotting factors are responsible for the blood clotting. Okay, that means thrombocytes are helpful in the blood clotting, and these are rough, disc shaped and small in size, around 2 to 4 mm in diameter. Even these blood cell components, this can even repair blood vessel damage by along with fibrin, it starts blood clotting and it stops damage of the blood vessel. If we see other important factors about blood, pH of blood is around 7.35 to 7.45, and hemoglobin content in a blood. A healthy male consists of 14 to 18 grams per g per dl, and a healthy female will have 12 to 16 g per dl. And cellular fragments or cellular fractions of blood are 45%. Okay, cellular fragments nothing but cellular components apart from the plasma. And the red blood cells in healthy female, we can see around 4 to 5.5 million per mule and 4.5 to 6.2 million per mule in male. Coming to white blood cells, these are very less in content when compared to red blood cells. Okay, 4,500 to 11,000 mule cells per mule, and concentration increase in the white blood cells always indicates a bad or negative impact on our health. If a patient consists of huge number of white blood cells, it indicates the presence of carcinogenic cells in that particular human being. Okay, once again just see the components of components of blood. That is, blood consists of plasma and cellular components, and plasma consists of water, proteins, that is plasma proteins, electrolytes, nutrients, waste products. But along with these components, it also carries serum and also clotting factors. Okay, and coming to cell components, it consists of erythrocytes, that is red blood cells, leukocytes, that is white blood cells, platelets, that is thrombocytes. Okay, and white blood cells are again of two types based on the presence of granules on the cytoplasm of the white blood cells. These are again granulocytes, agranulocytes. Granulocytes consist of granules over the cytoplasm. Agranulocytes doesn't contain any of the granules. Granulocytes are again three types: neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils. And granulocytes are again monocytes and lymphocytes. And all these white blood cells are responsible for the immunity, and they fight against the antigens, either it might be bacteria, virus or any parasite, anything. These white blood cells are like fighters which fight against the antigens which enter our human bodies. Okay, and red blood cells are responsible for the transportation of the oxygen and nutrients, whereas platelets are responsible for the blood clotting. Okay, and here serum which is present, blood clotting factors which are present in plasma are also responsible for the blood clotting. And finally, this blood is a connective tissue and it is not a fluid. We can also call it as fluid connective tissue, and it consists of both fluid and tissue. Fluid is nothing but plasma and tissue is nothing but different cell components like erythrocytes, leukocytes and thrombocytes. Okay, this is all about blood. Please once refer the material that is provided and keep that material aside while seeing this class, then you can get the topic very easily. Thank you, students.